This is episode 94 of the Battle of Ohio podcast. The Bengals are on to the divisional round of the playoffs for the first time in 31 years. Man, I was at that game against the Raiders, and the crowd just went absolutely insane when we won, man. It was an experience of a lifetime. The Browns are switching gears to offseason mode, and we're going to talk about, how to build around them and, how to get better next year on the Browns portion. But finally, the Steelers got smacked by the Chiefs in the playoffs, just like I said they would, because why, Thomas?
Because Pittsburgh sucks, and it sucks since '94 when I was born, and the episode we're on '94.
Good episode then.
Yeah, bring it all, connect all the dots together.
Welcome to the Battle of Ohio podcast, where we follow the revival of the historic rivalry between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Cleveland Browns.
It'd be nice if we could talk about a Browns playoff win too, but you know what? Look, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Talked about that last year.
It's fine. You know what? Look, the Browns need to be humble. I think Baker Mayfield, the Browns organization, Jimmy Haslam, they all need to be humble.
That's so Humble by Kendrick Lamar is the Bengals play it at the like every time the defense gets off the field. And it's fantastic.
Boom, boom, dun, 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 dun. Yeah, they do play that song right there. I be jamming. I had a nice little time at the Jungle. I mean, I enjoy the Jungle. I mean, like, I think y'all stadium. I mean, honestly, I think all the stadiums in the AFC North are bland, with the exception of the Ravens Stadium. Like, that's not just y'all hear me criticize my stadium all the time, so I'm not just saying that. I think all the stadiums in the AFC North, somebody who's been to many NFL stadiums. I can tell you that the AFC North is lacking in stadiums. I'm telling you that with confidence. Like, I'm not like, don't go like, oh yeah, why are you burning our teams? Like, no, our stadiums suck. Like, let's be real. Like the Bengals, I mean, like, they're fine for like a college level, but they're not NFL standard. What they build in the stadiums they're building in the NFL today just make the stadiums in the AFC North just look like garbage, pretty much, or bland. That's what I should say.
I mean, I guess, but I think there's also something to be said about the fact that it's football, and like the AFC North football stadiums are all football stadiums. They're not like Dallas got this big giant palace and the flashing lights, and then there's the Raiders Stadium, and it's basically a giant casino. Well, it looks like a giant casino. But it's actually a football stadium. So, and I get that a little bit, but I think there's a little bit of there's some charm in the AFC North stadiums. Yeah, they might not be the most high tech, they might not be the most whatever, but they're fucking football stadiums. Damn it, they're not. They're not like these massive state of the art fucking things that are intended to bring people in who aren't even into football.
I get that
they're fucking football stadiums.
I get that, but come on, man, come on. I mean, like I'm not saying they have to be indoors, but come on, man, like. Come on, dude. Like when Joe Burrow wins the Super Bowl ring for the Bengals, y'all build a new stadium, you're gonna be like, yeah, this is pretty awesome.
Well, yeah, but we're still gonna build a stadium that makes sense in Cincinnati. We ain't gonna
I get it.
We ain't gonna build the Mercedes-Benz Dome in Cincinnati.
I get it. You don't have to. You don't have to. I'm not saying you have to do that. All I'm saying is all right. So when I look at it, okay. So when I look at the stadium, I'm thinking first of all, so a lot of stadiums, any stadium could look nice interiorly, right? The bowl could look nice. The bowl looking nice is one thing. I will say that your seats, the Bengal seats, are more spaces than Brown seats. Brown seats were all like this. Bengals seats, y'all got the seats designed for Southerners, so fat people. So I just said that on camera. So y'all seats are more. So y'all seats are bigger. So I like that. I noticed that. I will say as far as walking around the Bengal Stadium, I hate walking from one side of the Bengal Stadium to the other side of the Bengal Stadium because you go downstairs and you go upstairs. It's just like, it's just so inconvenient. But the Brown Stadium is not that easy to walk through either. It's not. There's no space in the Brown Stadium. It's very cramped and it's very cold. There's nothing to shield you from the cold in Cleveland, in the Brown Stadium. You just in the thick of the cold. Everything looks like it's falling apart in the Brown Stadium. It looks unoriginal. It's just orange. Congratulations. The Pittsburgh Steelers Stadium, their stadium just trash. It's just all it is the high school stadium that's disguised as a NFL stadium. The Steelers Stadium is shit. Like I don't care. Like people visit be like, oh, Heinz Field is so beautiful. Like, okay, it's a nice view, but the stadium itself sucks.
Is it even a nice view?
Yeah, you get to see a hill. It's not even a mountain, it's a giant hill. It's not a mountain. Don't call that a mountain. I've been to Japan. I've seen mountains. That is not a mountain. The Appalachian Mountains aren't mountains. They're just glorified hills. I said it. The Rocky Mountains, those mountains. Those are real mountains. Those are man mountains.
All right. So, Thomas, I can't wait any longer. We got to talk about this Bengals playoff win.
All right, cool. We can talk about it.
It's the first, I mentioned in the intro, it's the first playoff win, 31 goddamn years.
Yeah, ever since I killed Bo Jackson.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It came against the team. It came against the same team it all started against. We killed Bo Jackson, but the Raiders still won that game. And that was unfortunate. And I'm not, that sucks for Bo Jackson and all his fans and everything like that. But we got cursed for 31 years, so I don't even want to hear it.
I don't think the Bo Jackson fans care anymore. I don't think they're like, dang, the Bengals won. Bo Jackson is rolling in his bed right now because the team that injured him. As we go outside and shoot. By the way, I heard Bo Jackson's a great hunter.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's great at archery too.
So this game, man, it really felt a lot like that last Bengals Raiders game that happened because if you recall, I think I can't remember if I mentioned this on this podcast or not, but I've definitely been talking about it all week. I definitely talked about it on my YouTube channel. But the last time that the Bengals played the Raiders, it looked like we blew them out. It's not entirely true. I think we won 32-13, but the reality of the situation was that was actually a really, really close football game until the Bengals kind of pulled away at the end. And so basically the same thing played out this week. Joe Mixon couldn't really get a whole lot going, but Joe Burrow was absolutely fucking electric, dude. He he had like 110 quarterback rating or something like that. Like Joe Burrow, the last I don't know the exact number, but like last 8 weeks or something like that has just been on fire. This guy's been playing elite football, and he's been playing like the best quarterback in the league, like bar none. I mean, there's no comparison for the way. Now, I'm not saying Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in the league, but I'm saying the way he's been playing lately has just been insane. He started the season being kind of, interception and turnover prone, but he hasn't been doing that at all lately. The Bengals didn't turn the ball over once against the Raiders.
He's definitely top 5.
Well, I think he's top 5 in general, but I'm saying the way he's been playing the last however many weeks has been the best in the entire football league.
What's crazy about this, and it's like the thing that he's not getting enough credit for.
What?
That Joe Burrow doing all of this with a horrible offensive line.
Well, you see, that's the thing. The offensive line is not horrible.
Is it? Or is he just?
It's not.
Is he just good? Is Joe Burrow not holding the ball too long?
Well, he is sometimes actually holding the ball too long. That's the problem.
Okay.
Joe Burrow does not get rid of the ball super quickly. But I will say some of it is Joe Burrow making his offensive line look better than it is. But some of it's Joe Burrow and his playing style making the offensive line look worse than it is. Joe Burrow gets sacked and hit a lot, but it's because of the way he plays the game, partially. And I mean, like Jonah Williams completely and utterly shut down Yannick Ngakoue this week. On the right side, we're having issues because we're playing our backup right tackle because Riley Reif's out for the year, and then right guard has been kind of an issue all year because of Hakeem Adeniji and Jackson Carman and Xavier Su'a-Filo and just like this rotation we've had at right guard. So the right side of the line has been kind of an issue this year, and definitely was an issue against the Raiders because Max Crosby was just absolutely feasting. But I'd say that the rest of the offensive line really did their job. Like, the Raiders' defensive tackles didn't do particularly well against our defensive interior. Quentin Spain had a good game. Trey Hopkins had a good game. Really, like I said, it's like, is this offensive line great? No, by no means. But I think they're near average as far as their playing abilities. I think it's just the Bengals' offensive scheme that sometimes, creates situations where the Bengals end up with more pressure in Joe Burrow's face than he probably would get. Then like Andy Dalton, for example. I don't know if Andy Dalton would be getting sacked as much as Joe Burrow is because Andy Dalton plays the game a very specific way. But the important thing to note, though, is Joe Burrow, part of the reason he plays in that style is because he can handle the pressure. And in fact, he almost kind of invites the pressure because when he's being pressured, that means there's probably somebody open downfield.
Yeah.
And he'll find that guy.
I'm just watching this. I'm watching the game right now on my computer. Yo, by the way, like Derek Carr had such a bad first half. I was just like, man, I mean, he came back in the second half. But, like, honestly, though, on the low, like, I wouldn't get rid of Baker Mayfield to go after Derek Carr. I wouldn't give up assets. I wouldn't give up assets for Baker. I just, maybe it's because, like, I'm not in the crowd that think that Baker Mayfield is the worst quarterback on earth, because I think that you could probably get. I honestly believe you can get Derek Carr production out of Baker Mayfield.
And that's and I totally agree with that. I feel like moving from Baker Mayfield to Derek Carr would be a lateral move. I feel like, both Baker Mayfield and Derek Carr have the potential to play like a top 10 quarterback in the league. I wouldn't call either of them top 10 quarterbacks, but I would say they both have the potential to play like top 10 quarterbacks at times. They also have some things they need to work on. But again, this is what we've been talking about for like the last however many weeks, Thomas. It's like, okay, if you move on from Baker Mayfield, then you better have a damn good plan to replace him, because, I mean, you can't just go get anybody and they'll be better than Baker Mayfield. Like, you go, like I said, you go get Derek Carr, and I mean, he's not hurt, so maybe that's an upgrade. Maybe, you don't have to worry about him rehabbing an injury over the offseason. And he's also a little older than Baker Mayfield. He's got some, he brings a little bit more experience to the playing field.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple of things that, replacing Baker Mayfield with Derek Carr, it would be a little bit of an upgrade, but not enough of an upgrade to justify the price you'd have to pay.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, y'all are so lucky to play a team like the Raiders, because, like, the Raiders really aren't a playoff team. I mean, like, they almost lost to the Browns' third-string quarterback, but, like, it's just like stupid stuff. Like, when
they outscored Justin Herbert and the Chargers to get here.
They
almost came back and beat us.
The Chargers, but you gotta look at the Chargers though. The Chargers, they had a hot start, and then they had a really, really hot start. But those last few weeks of the Chargers wasn't substantial. That's why they're not in the playoff right now.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm not discrediting. I'm not discrediting your loss.
I think the Chargers are just barely under the threshold for what defines a playoff team. The Raiders, I think the Raiders are just, maybe not just, given the way things played out, I think the Raiders were just as worthy of being a playoff team as the Patriots were. And they're way more worthy of being a playoff team than either of the Pennsylvania teams. So, the Raiders are decidedly a wild card team.
Yeah.
But I don't think that means they didn't deserve it.
Oh, no, I'm not saying, okay, I got you. I guess I'm being bitter right now because, But like just like the play where McFadden kicked the ball and it all was without a bounds, and that idiot on the Raiders was like, I want to pick it up and then go out of bounds at the 2-yard line.
Wait. Oh, yeah.
McFadden.
I'm like, McFadden doesn't play for the Raiders anymore. What are you talking about?
No, he kicked the ball. Isn't that his name? Oh, McLaughlin, McLaughlin, wherever the kicker's name is. McLaughlin.
Yeah, McPherson.
McPherson.
If he had, if that ball had gone, if that guy hadn't interfered with the ball, and I'm not even entirely sure what he was trying. I'm not even entirely sure what he was trying to do. Like, I saw somebody. I saw somebody tweet out. They said, well, I get what he was trying to do, but that was still a really bad decision. I'm like, well, I don't even get what he was trying to do. Was he just trying to catch the ball after? Was he just trying to catch the ball after it went out of bounds and he just misjudged the timing? Like what benefit does that give you? Why would you take that risk? I don't know. The Bengals. There were a few times the Bengals did luck out in this game. To be fair, but lucky plays happen. in general. And the fact of the matter is, the old Bengals would have, not taken advantage of those lucky bounces.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't want to discredit y'all. The defense played well. Joe Burrow played like Joe Burrow. Kudos to him. Joe Mixon stepped the game up. Was it freaking Jamar Chase looked like Jamar Chase? That's always good. So I mean, like, it was just all around a good game. Bring on who y'all playing next week?
Titans.
Ooh, yeah, I might be. Do they have Henry back yet?
They do have Henry back yet, but
He's not.
They do have Henry back, but he hasn't played since week 8, and he hasn't had a good game since week 6. So I'm like the one piece of apprehension I do have though, Thomas, is our defensive line right now is got a lot of injuries. Larry Ogunjobi just announced before we started recording this podcast, out for the year.
Oh man.
So we lost Larry Ogunjobi, but we got BJ Hill though, so I'm not too worried about it. But then you've got Mike Daniels is hurt and might not be able to make it back. Josh Tupou, we're not entirely sure if it sounds like the Bengals are maybe thinking he could come back for this game, but if not, you have no depth behind DJ Reader and BJ Hill.
Okay.
And I've seen some people like Jesse Bates jokingly said in his press conference, like, "Oh well, I texted Geno Atkins, and we're gonna try to get him back." But man, Geno Atkins, I think, is like fully retired. I don't think he's from what I'm hearing, it doesn't even sound like he's in playing shape or anything like that. So I think that was just a funny thing that Jesse Bates was saying. It's not. There's no actual validity to it. I don't think Geno Atkins is coming to Cincinnati, and that would be great. That'd be such a cool thing, especially if we could beat the Titans and then Geno Atkins could get in there for a couple of plays. That would just be a great way to come full circle with him. But I don't know if I think that that's realistic.
I like how in football you could sign free agents literally at any time, but you can't trade for players whenever. So like, I mean, so like if I was a player and I wanted to be a playoff team and I had like 1 year left on my contract and I was in the last year of my contract, I would tell my team to release me week 16, week 17. Put the Odell Beckham. Just release me. I'm out of here next year anyway. Just release me. I'm gonna and then go sign with a team with a playoff contention. Yeah, like players do that. I was surprised more people don't do that.
Well, there's also there might be some players who know they're not getting re-signed. So that might be a worthwhile request. But then the players who are like good and if they say something like just release me because I'm not re-signing anyway, then they lose all of their negotiation leverage. I don't think most players who are free agents go into the offseason like knowing that they're leaving. There might be quite a few that they're thinking, oh yeah, I'm probably leaving because they're probably not going to pay me. But and then they're ready to leave and everything like that. But I'm pretty sure very few players who make it all the way to the end of their contract actually think that, oh, I don't want to play here anymore, and I know I'm not playing here anymore.
LeBron did it twice.
Well, that's LeBron.
I think
that's LeBron, and I think the thing about it's a unique situation with LeBron because LeBron, I don't think ever really genuinely wanted to leave Cleveland. I think he just did it for practical purposes.
It looked like he's gonna come back too. That's a funny thing. See you in a year, LeBron.
I'm not entirely sure I can explain him leaving for the Lakers. I don't know if that's just him wanting to leave. Like that was a business decision for wanting to move to LA and being near LA and everything like that. But like I know him moving to the Heat was definitely a basketball decision. I think in his heart he wanted to stay in Cleveland and he wanted to win for Cleveland, but I think he knew that he couldn't.
Yeah, I think the Lakers was just like, oh yeah, I can do it. Like, I got my championship. I just kind of want to do whatever the hell I want. I'm about to go to LA and play basketball in LA. And now I think a part of him probably watching the Cavs and probably regretting that decision right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. They do not look good right now. Anyway, that's not here or there. LeBron for Cincinnati, though. I'll tell you what, though. Look, I'm about to be real with you. A part of me is jealous because Joe Burrow is taking over Ohio right now as the quarterback of Ohio. Baker's like getting like, and by the way, Baker Mayfield, if by any off chance you're watching this, I hope this stings for you. I hope that you're looking at all the attention that Joe Burrow's getting, and you just go like, ugh.
Especially when you're undefeated against him.
Yeah, especially when that's probably the best part about it. So like right now, Baker Mayfield, we're the ugly stepchilds right here. We're no longer the darlings, because even still, we still had like the Browns fans still like, for the most part had a lot of fans in Ohio. So I never had to worry about the New Orleans Bengals fans. But no, we're the ugly stepchilds right now, Baker Mayfield. So I hope this hurts. But Joe Burrow, dude, Joey Burrow is becoming a star right in front of our eyes. You see him become the symbol of football in Ohio, especially Southern Ohio. It's like I said, man, he's gonna be LeBron. Like, when you have somebody who grew up 2 hours away from the football team, you're gonna have a very similar effect on the city like LeBron James had, because nobody's gonna get Ohio like Joe Burrow did. Like, trust me, Joe Burrow, he might not be from Cincinnati, but he definitely been there multiple times. Like, who in Ohio hasn't been to Cincinnati? Like,
that's a good point, because the guy who I originally wanted before Joe Burrow initially burst onto the scene and kind of took everything by storm. But before that happened, the guy I wanted with the number 1 overall pick was Tua Tagovailoa. And there's no way on earth Tua would be nearly as big of a star as Joe Burrow, just because A, he doesn't have that kind of personality. B, he's not from here. And I mean that's just a huge thing for Bengals fans. I think Joe Burrow's originally originally from Nebraska, but I mean he grew up in Southern Ohio, so that's there is a difference there. But like originally he's from Nebraska. His whole family is not Ohio based or anything like that. To the best of my knowledge, I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. And it was only,
They went from Nebraska to Athens.
Because his dad Jimmy Burrow took the defensive coordinator job here.
Oh, look at that. Oh, because okay, I got you. So
at OU.
Yeah. So the coach. So I'm guessing like he had a relationship with the coach at OU. He probably just followed the coach at OU, right? Is that what his father did? Because the coach at OU, what's his name? The guy who coached the OU used to be a legendary coach for Nebraska.
Yeah, Frank Solich.
Yeah. So
I remember when OU hired Frank Solich, and I didn't hear anything about Jimmy Burrow at the time, but I definitely heard all about Frank Solich, because that was right around the time that I got to OU in the first place. That might have been my first year when they hired Frank Solich. And my dad texted me. He's like, "Hey, you guys got this big Nebraska head coach, and he might do really cool things for your football team." And I looked this guy up, and I'm like, I mean, yeah, maybe it's still Ohio University though. We're not exactly like a powerhouse school or anything like that. So I mean, we'll see, but maybe they'll do some cool things. And they've done pretty good behind Frank Solich in general.
Well, yeah, it takes time to build a football program. Yeah, and it takes you're talking about before Frank came to OU, like OU was a 2-win football team, and he took them from a 2-win football team to a bowl team. Yeah, that's not easy to do. And they were on their way to being favorite in the MAC every year. They had an off year this year, but their basketball team's for real though. Their basketball team can win a couple of tournament games though.
Well, I remember when I was in college, we had a tendency to not beat Miami University very much, and that used to piss me the hell off because I hate Miami. I hated Miami before I even knew I was going to OU, because I live, like Oxford, Ohio is not too far from me. And so the closest local school to me, because I grew up in in the northern reaches of Cincinnati. So the closest school to me was actually Miami University, not University of Cincinnati. And it always just got on my nerves, because it just seemed like I don't know, maybe it was the same thing with it wasn't quite the same thing with Ohio State, although it kind of was that way in college, because Miami University fans were obviously very annoying. But it's just like everybody went to Miami around where I grew up, and I'm just like, and then there was Ben Roethlisberger, and I'm just like, So yeah, I've never liked Miami. Even before I went OU, I didn't. Even before I went to OU, I didn't like Miami. But that was my one like bitch, I think, with Frank Solich as a coach. Frank Solich as a coach is it feels like we just had a tendency. It's not like we never beat Miami, but it's just like it felt like we more often than not lost to Miami.
LeBron, not LeBron. Ben Roethlisberger was a big Cavs fan, so he used to go to Cavs games, just chill there. Brown going there, check his hand and shit. Like this dude. They're gonna come to Browns game, come to Cavs game. Like, yeah, I support the Cavs. By the way, I beat you on football. I hate that dude. I don't get. There's a lot of people in Western Pennsylvania who are Cavs fans. I don't understand that. I don't get that actually.
Okay, so I was wrong. I think my dad was just talking. So Frank Solich was apparently hired at OU in 2005. I guess my dad was probably just talking to me about how he used to be like this great coach in Nebraska. Which, by the way, he didn't last that damn long in Nebraska. He 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons before he went to OU, and he's been at OU for 15 years.
Oh, hey man, look, people want to remember the big stuff you do, not the little stuff. But you know what? Jim Tressel is always going to be a Youngstown State coach for me. Love you, Tressel. Tressel's my dude. He was never a Buckeye. He was always a Penguin. Would ever do you like they did you at Columbus, Tressel? Love you, Tress. Even though I only went to Youngstown State for 2 years and went to OU for 4 years, so I'm more of a Bobcat than a Penguin. But I'm still a part Penguin. Shout out to all the part Penguins out there, y'all. They got low graduation rate, so there was a lot of part Penguins out there. That's the horrible joke for those people who unfortunately couldn't finish.
Okay, so let's see. Oh my God, everything I said about Frank Solich was apparently just totally wrong. Before Frank Solich got to Ohio University. Yeah, just don't pay attention to me. Nobody pay attention to me. I'm ignorant. I don't know what I'm talking about. So before Frank Solich got to Miami or got to Ohio University, Ohio University's record since 1989 was, let's see, 03, 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kyle's doing math. So while he's doing that, we're just going to laugh at the fact that he said everything that I said was completely wrong. So y'all heard it here first. So any debate that we have moving forward, I win.
Okay, so Ohio University's record against Miami since 1989, before Frank Solich got here, was 2-13-1.
Wow.
And then since Frank Solich has got here, OU has won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So they're 12-3 since Frank Solich got here. So I'm so wrong. I apologize for besmirching your name, Frank Solich. You've done an amazing job. You beat Miami, and that's what I care about.
Yeah.
Somehow Miami still leads the series 54-41-2.
Well, the Browns led the series against the Steelers for a very long time until like 2 or 3 years ago, or like 5 years ago. I think it was 5 years ago.
Well, it's because Miami went on a big run. Apparently, in the 40s and 50s, Miami went on a big run, and in the 90s, Miami went on a big run. And outside of that, it's pretty even.
Don't like Miami at all.
I don't like Miami, no. Never have. Like I said, even before I was at OU. But anyway, Thomas, there's not a whole lot to talk about, so we don't need to spend a whole lot of time on it. But we do need to talk a little bit about the Browns, because this is a Bengals Browns podcast. So
do we have to talk about the Browns?
We do. But I mean, there's not really a whole lot to talk about. For the first time in a long time, there's no real Browns drama to talk about this week. There's
I
no
know.
news, nothing's happening.
I
There's
know.
really that's almost the biggest news of anything is there's no news, there's nothing to talk about with the Browns. So my perspective on this one is just like, let's talk about where the Browns are at. Let's talk about the state of the Browns. Like they've got some pieces to build around, particularly some young defensive pieces in Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah and Greg Newsome, who both had really, really good seasons.
Sure, yeah, they did. Shoot, you remember how excited I was when they drafted Greg Newsome. You remember Greg Newsome was the one that I picked in our draft preview. That's getting really excited that they and then you pick. I think did you pick Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah for them to pick JOK?
No, I didn't pick him. I was very mad when they picked him because I wanted him to go to a team that wasn't a team that we play twice a year. Because I knew he was going to be really good. So I was like, no. But I thought he was. I thought he was going to go in the first round. That was part of it.
Well, it's funny because like nobody would have thought that the thing that you're gonna that you would glamour over for the Browns would be the defense. Everybody thought it'd be the offense. You got offensive team as a coach, but like you said, you have Newsome, JOK, you got Myles Garrett, you got Greedy Williams, Delpit looks exciting, Ward. You got a lot of ballers on that defense, so I think our defense is gonna be good for a long time. Now offense. I mean, Chubb is nice.
Line.
Yeah, Chubb is nice.
Offensive line, you got good running backs. I think honestly, if the Browns can go find like a true like good X receiver, whether that be in the draft or I think that's what Odell Beckham was supposed to do. He just never really did it.
Well, Joe made a really good point. He said that the Browns were projected the year that we drafted. Or the year that we traded for Odell Beckham Jr., a lot of mock drafts had the Browns drafting DK Metcalf.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's just enough said. Like that. Like I don't have to. There's no analyzing it at all. There's no analyst for that at all for that statement. It's just a statement. The Browns were projected to take DJ Metcalf the year that they traded for Odell Beckham. That was what they were projected to get. Like there's just no analyst for that at all. It's just what it is. But John Dorsey was like, nope, I want to make a flash of the bucket. And yeah, I know I was excited at the time, but Kyle, you was right about that one.
I was also excited at the time, if you recall.
That's why you hear Gab on Twitter saying that they should go get Juju. I'm like, dude, nah. Like we just like we literally just went through this. They're like, oh, but the talent. They're like, we literally just went through this. So I would rather get a receiver. Obviously, the Browns need a receiver. That should be the thing they should get the most. A lot of people say quarterback. We just talked about Derek Carr being a lateral move. I truly believe that. I don't think Derek Carr. I don't think you're gonna gain anything while getting rid of Baker Mayfield for Derek Carr. Honestly, I'd rather keep Baker Mayfield because he probably have more of a chip on his shoulder next year. Derek Carr will. But with that said, I like the receiver. I like Calvin Ridley. I think if you can get him from Atlanta, see what the price tag on that would be, whether he's a free agent or whether you could see you get him in a trade. So I like him. I like and I do think that we're a little bit too far back in the draft to get a first round receiver. So I don't think that any good ones are going to be available. So I wouldn't just draft one just to draft one. I think that's the big mistake that teams make in the draft. I think that we might end up reaching for a receiver who won't be that good. So I wouldn't draft a receiver in the first round if he's not there. And all accounts say that they won't be there, but it's still early. It's still very early in the draft process. You know how people reach for quarterbacks and receivers fall. So that can still happen. But I personally, the receiver that I have my eye on is Ridley from Atlanta. That's what I want. Figure out somebody to get him. Because I don't think Jarvis is coming back next year.
You don't think so?
It don't sound like it.
That's unfortunate. So Thomas, the Odell Beckham Jr. trade. So the Browns traded a first round pick and a third round pick and
Jabril Peppers.
And Jabril Peppers, right? And that was the whole pick, right? That was the whole trade.
Yep.
Okay. So Jabril Peppers
Oh,
I know I've heard his name a few times.
they also traded offensive lineman for Olivia Verner. Who's the offensive lineman? I think Alex Mack. Was that
They
Alex
didn't
Mack?
trade Alex Mack for a look. No, there's no way. No, Alex Mack left in free agency, didn't he?
No, was it Alex Mack? No, it wasn't Alex Mack. It was who did they trade for Olivia Verner? They traded somebody for Olivia Verner. But yeah, they traded offensive lineman for Olivia Verner. But anyway, go ahead. What you saying?
Was that part of the same trade?
No, but it was like a 2-for-1 deal. Like it was like that trade, and then like a month later, the Odell Beckham trade happened.
Yeah, so not that Olivier Vernon has been like a all pro or anything like that for Cleveland, but clearly the better of the two pickups.
Yeah, I mean, because he played well at the tail end of last season. Like we would have made the playoffs without him.
Kevin Zeitler, apparently.
Yeah, that's what it was. Kevin Zeitler.
How dare you?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Okay, so let's see. Jabril Peppers has basically done a whole lot of nothing in New York since getting there.
You mean New Jersey?
He was apparently on injured reserve all year this year. Yeah, New Jersey. Sorry.
He sacked
Carson Wentz one time. So there you go, Thomas.
Oh, look at that! He stuck Carson Wentz getting sacked by.
And he was the one apparently who injured Kyle Allen in that one awful year that Washington had for quarterbacks.
Oh, for real? You mean every year? like they had RG3 and Kirk Cousins, ruined both of them. They didn't ruin Kirk Cousins. They just didn't want to keep him.
Well, yeah, I was about to say they definitely didn't ruin Kirk Cousins. They gave Kirk Cousins they gave Kirk Cousins the career he has. Like they did the opposite of ruin Kirk Cousins.
Why? I still don't understand why they got rid of Kirk Cousins.
I think because they were hoping that RG3 would end up working out. And if it hadn't been for the injury, he might have. But anyway, the two draft picks that the Browns traded to the Giants turned into Oshani Zimines.
Mm-hmm.
So
no, it's not our fault.
You could have had Oshani Zimines.
Oshani Zimines. Shout out to Oshami, y'all.
Yeah,
shout out to Oshami.
I have no idea how to pronounce his name, but he's a starting pass rusher for the Giants, but he's also not particularly effective. He was on injured reserve. He's basically bounced on and off injured reserve. Not anything particularly impressive. And then the other guy the guy they got with their first round pick was Dexter Lawrence, who had a really good rookie year, but what he's most famous for doing is when he jumped off sides against the Washington football team back in week 2, and Washington, if you recall, Washington missed the kick, but Dexter Lawrence jumped off sides and they re-kicked it and then ended up getting the kick, and then it was a walk-off win for the Washington football team, and the Giants ended up falling to 0-2.
Well, that's why Gunman got fired.
No, he retired, but
no, damn, fire him. He retired.
Yeah, he retired. At the end of the day, the Browns, the players the Browns traded to the Giants for Odell Beckham Jr. didn't really work out for the Giants. Except, you can maybe say Dexter Lawrence has worked out, but you could also say he kind of fucked them too. But the one thing is just the Odell Beckham Jr. situation kind of imploded for Cleveland. So it's like it might have just been better if they had never had him in the first place.
Well, who said the Browns would have fumbled those draft picks? They probably would have. But y'all being like, oh yeah. So the whole thing is that, man, what number pick was that?
The 17th, I believe.
17th. Let's see. Where did DK Metcalf get drafted?
DK Metcalf, I don't know.
Got drafted. Oh, it was the 64th pick.
Yep.
Yeah, we could have now.
So you passed on him twice.
I'm not looking at no more internet for me today. Like it's just like I'm gonna be real with you. Like, there's never been a time in my life where we had a phenomenal receiver as a Browns. I mean, we had Josh Gordon for 15 weeks or 14 weeks.
Total.
That's why Cleveland fans were so clamoring to Josh Gordon, because we never had a receiver in this city ever. We never had a receiver that made the quarterback better. Even the old Browns, their best receiver was Newsom, who was a tight end.
Yeah. Holy shit.
Yeah,
Holy
you're looking at it.
shit.
You're looking at it too. You're looking at it too.
I'm looking at the Cleveland Browns career receiving leaders record, and so it's
Paul Warfield.
3 tight ends, and then whatever the hell an LH is, and then whatever the hell an FL is. The first wide receiver you get to is Paul Warfield, who played in the 60s.
And shout out to Paul Warfield. By the way, people in my family know Paul Warfield, so shout out to Paul Warfield. Good dude.
Y'all had a guy named Webster Slaughter.
Yeah, Webster Slaughter was a beast.
Who played? Yeah, and he was only there for 5 years though. That's the thing. Yeah, I'm not seeing.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing a single. Braylon Edwards is probably the best.
Fact that he's on that list. The fact that he's on that list.
Braylon Edwards is the greatest receiver in modern Browns history. Except that Kevin Johnson was pretty good too. Jarvis Landry's on this list.
Yeah, of course he is.
Oh, y'all had Dennis Northcutt. He was pretty good.
Yeah, but yeah.
I remember Dennis Northcutt.
Yeah, I mean, Dennis Northcutt was cool, but yeah. I mean, like,
and then Josh Gordon's number 18 for all the games that he played.
It's just
Eric Metcalf.
Yeah, Eric Metcalf was a beef, but like Eric Metcalf was great because he was a great returner. But all right, so you look at that list. You go back, like I said, the Browns haven't had plenty of great running backs in this franchise.
Holy
even
crap,
now,
Rashard Higgins is on this list. That's how bad it is.
Yeah, Kyle. Like when I tell you, the Browns have not had any good receivers ever. I mean, they never had good receivers.
Muhammad Massaquoi was pretty good.
Like the Browns probably have one of the worst receiver cores in NFL history throughout their franchise.
No, Thomas. Y'all had Andrew Hawkins. Your argument is invalid.
We had him for a year.
Y'all had Andrew Hawkins. He's the GOAT.
I do like Andrew Hawkins a lot. He's a very cool dude. But we only have him for like a year or two.
4 years, I think.
Oh, we have him for 4 years?
Oh, no, you're right. You're right. You had him for 2 years.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, it was like, damn.
14, 15. No, 3 years. 14, 15, 16.
Okay. Oh, there you go. He probably won. I think he probably won like 3 games the entire time playing for the Browns.
He is one of my favorite players in NFL history, and yet he left us for the Browns. Like, you want to talk about some bullshit.
He's a great slot receiver.
Yeah, he was a good player.
He was great.
Joe Juravicius.
You're just going through all the Browns receivers, so you can
that's just no. I'm going through the Cleveland Browns career receiving yards leaders record.
Yeah, it's yeah. There you go. This is
Yeah. You get down to like you get down to like in the before you even get into the 200s, you're getting to guys who have like double digits in their yards total.
Yeah.
For their entire career.
No. Yeah, no. I got what you were saying, dude. I got what you were saying. I got what you're saying.
64 players who broke the 1,000-yard mark in their entire career. And half of them are tight ends and running backs.
I know.
One of them's a punter. What? How did you have a punter who had over 1,000 yards receiving?
Because I don't know. They're the Browns. You're talking about a team that's been around since the 40s.
Yeah, well, that guy played in the 40s and 50s, so.
I mean,
man, y'all are a mess.
let's talk about the Steelers.
Okay. Well, before we get into that, we do need to do the underrated players of the week. Now, the Browns obviously didn't play. They're not going to play the rest of the year. But what I wanted to do was an underrated player of the year for the Browns. So Thomas, I guess I'll go first on that one actually. So in my opinion, the Browns underrated player of the year is AJ Green, the cornerback.
Okay.
I looked up a lot of the Browns stats and a lot of their like Pro Football Focus grades and everything, and from what I can tell, nobody defied expectations this year the way that AJ Green did. Because I mean, like, you know, he's an undrafted player last year who, like, you know, nobody gave any credence to. I kind of wanted the Bengals to pick him up in the 7th round, but you know they didn't. But I thought he was going to be a pretty good player, even though his name. Like, I mean, part of it, I thought it was cool to have AJ Green and AJ Green on the same team, but still, yeah, I don't know, man. I felt like, you know, I looked up his tape and stuff, and I thought that he had potential to be a pretty good player, but he only allowed 6 receptions this year. Now, he was only targeted 22 times, to be fair. He didn't start or anything like that, but he only allowed 6 receptions. He broke up 5 passes and allowed a 21.4 passer rating when targeted. 21.4 all year.
That's actually pretty good. That's actually really good. That's actually really good.
Yeah, his grade for the whole season in coverage was 90.3 per PFF. The Browns have a lot of issues to work out, I think, going into next year. But their secondary is not one of them.
Okay, that's actually really good. That actually excites me. That actually does excite me. Our secondary is pretty good. Let me make sure I pronounce his name right. What's his name? MJ Stewart. Yep. All right. So I am gonna go with MJ Stewart. He really came on in the latter half of the season. When the Browns players weren't playing for anything at the end of the season, he kept on fighting. He kept on playing. He kept on playing hard. I really like him. I really would like to see him. I really like to see the Browns keep him around. He's just a player that makes tackles and is in the right spot, and he's just great. So anyway, give me MJ Stewart. MJ Stewart wasn't anybody that anybody thought would be anything of significance. He was the safety. He came up in big spots, especially when we had a lot of safety injuries. Grant Delpit, early in the season when Grant Delpit was coming back, he was very depth safety, and he played a lot better than we expected him to play. So shout out to him.
There you go, man. You're good, man. MJ Stewart and AJ Green.
Yep.
If you got if you got initials as a name, then you play well for the Browns, apparently. All right. So the underrated player of the week for the Bengals. I'll let you go first on this one, Thomas.
All right. See, I always go back and forth with this because I always want to pick somebody on defense for the Bengals, and then like I pick somebody, I'm like, oh, he look really good for the Bengals, and they'd be like, oh, Thomas, he's not underrated. Everybody knows about that guy. So, so I'm going to stick to offense, and I'm actually going to go with another initial guy, and a guy who actually isn't too underrated, but you know who is underrated across the nation, but isn't underrated. Cincinnati. I'm gonna go with CJ Ugama. Not because of any other reason, just because this is since we talk about totality of season. Who would have thought that CJ Ugama would have the season that he's having?
My dad.
Besides you.
My dad made that prediction actually at the beginning of the season. My dad actually, I think he said he'd do a little bit. He said he was going to have like 800 yards and like however many touchdowns, I don't know. And he did. Uzama didn't quite get to that level, but like, I mean, my dad was really high on CJ Uzomah going into this year. I even said, like, most people in Cincinnati, by the way, Thomas, you said he's, not underrated in Cincinnati, but he is underrated in Cincinnati. Like, he's not, the Bengals themselves don't underrate CJ Uzomah. They believe in CJ Uzomah, but the city of Cincinnati did not believe in CJ Uzomah going into this year. A lot of Bengals fans I saw, especially on Twitter, were saying that he's the worst starting tight end in the NFL.
Oh, wow. He played every single week. Every single week I see him play, he plays well. I mean, he 64 yards, 10 yards after 10 yards per catch, a touchdown with six receptions. He did really well.
Yeah, no, he's a good player, and he
great story too.
Yeah, fantastic. That's a good one because he truly is, like, I don't really underrate him personally, because he's got a great connection with Joe Burrow and he's been making plays all year, really. But there is just this like, he doesn't get enough credit for what he accomplishes, especially across the country, but even in Cincinnati too. A lot of people still think of him as a liability and think of the Bengals tight end room as just not a very good tight end room. The fact of the matter is, Drew Sample is kind of up and down, but he's okay. And I mean, people are annoyed with him because he was a second-round pick and they expect more out of him than what he's been producing. But Drew Sample's okay, and CJ Uzomah is actually pretty good. But this is all being done in a Bengals offense, which really, really, really does not utilize tight ends very much. So, people are talking about like, oh, well, the Bengals offense, just like, I mean, the tight ends is one of the biggest weak spots. It's like, well, I mean, maybe, but how can you really know? Because the Bengals don't really use tight ends all that much. So, I mean, to have somebody like CJ Uzomah, who is a great leadership guy in the locker room and stuff like that, and a guy who can make plays and has great chemistry with Joe Burrow, what more would you want out of a tight end than that? Like, yeah, he doesn't have like Tyler Eifert level potential, but he's way better of a locker room guy than Tyler Eifert was. Not that Tyler Eifert was bad for that or anything like that, but CJ Uzomah is like elite at being a locker room guy. And he's got really good chemistry with Joe Burrow and everything like that. And for what the system is with tight ends, I think CJ Uzomah is pretty much everything that you'd want to have a tight end.
Okay.
So my underrated player of the week for the Bengals, I'm going to give it to right guard Hakeem Adeniji. I've been talking a lot of smack about this guy, right? And not so much because I don't like Hakeem Adeniji himself, but because I've heavily criticized the Bengals this year for putting him in over Jackson Carman. Even though Jackson Carman has played really, really well in a lot of spots this year, and they drafted him in the second round. It's like, if you guys are going to draft this guy in the second round, you need to commit to developing him and stuff like that. But to be fair to Hakeem Adeniji, I mean, he's been kind of up and down, this year, but he had a good game against the Raiders. I mean, he played really well against the Raiders interior. He was kind of average as a pass blocker, and I'd like to see a little bit more out of him there. But as a run blocker, he did pretty damn well. And that's a huge part of what Jackson Carman does so well. So it's like, if Hakeem Adeniji is also doing well as a run blocker, then I guess, whatever. My hope here is that they don't stunt Jackson Carman's growth. But also at the same time, if Hakeem Adeniji ends up being a good starter for the unit, then I guess what do we really need Jackson Carman for in the first place?
Yeah. Who needs dumb old Texas? I mean, Jackson Carman anymore anyway. SpongeBob that joke.
Hakeem Adeniji.
Hakeem Adeniji.
Hakeem Adeniji did allow 2 pressures and 2 hurries against the Raiders. So he wasn't perfect. But he also didn't allow a sack. And at the end of the day, me and Thomas were talking about I think it was before the episode. It might have been at the top of the episode. But Joe Burrow can handle the damn pressure. It's like, it might have been actually the last episode. I can't remember. We talked about it on this podcast. The Bengals offensive line may not be an elite offensive line, but they're generally kind of in the average range, and Joe Burrow can handle pressure. So it's like, what we don't want to see is Joe Burrow getting hit a ton. And I mean, he does, but that's partially because of the scheme. But regardless of that, if they're allowing pressures and stuff like that, that's fine because Joe Burrow invites pressure. Joe Burrow likes pressure because you know what? When Joe Burrow's being pressured, that probably means there's somebody open downfield. And he's great at processing and great at seeing the field. And if he can find that guy who's open downfield because there's pressure in his face, then he will make you pay for getting pressure on him.
Okay. Okay. I mean, look, here's the thing, man. Joe Burrow, man, he's he got that it factor. He got that it factor in him. It's gonna be fun to watch him carve up the Titans this weekend.
I almost kind of want to give Joe Burrow the underrated player of the week award every week, just because I've said it before because I did give it to him 1 week, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, but no matter how good you think Joe Burrow is, he's better than that. Joe Burrow is a freaking animal, dude. Like I'm not being hyperbolic right now. I'm being honest when I say that Joe Burrow could, hyperbole. I'm not being hyperbolic when I say Joe Burrow could one day, if he stays on the trajectory he's on now, which I mean that requires no injuries, that requires a lot of stuff. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I'm saying it could happen. Joe Burrow could supplant Tom Brady as the greatest quarterback to ever play in the NFL if he stays on the path he's on
now. That's quite a claim.
It's serious. I'm telling you, no matter how good you think Joe Burrow is, he's better than that.
So what you telling me is Joe Burrow really is the LeBron James of the
Bengals? Yeah, Joe Burrow. Yeah, he really is. That was a great comparison you made. What was it, like 2 years
episode
ago?
1 episode 2?
It wasn't episode 1, but it was like episode 14 or something like that.
Yeah,
it was early.
Episode.
It was early, but we have that video up, by the way. I clipped it out and I made it its own video. So if y'all want to go check that out, maybe I'll put it in the end screen here. But Joe Burrow, just his ceiling is limitless. That's all I'll say. His ceiling is absolutely limitless, and no matter how good you think he is, he's better than that.
It is great because we were big. That's the whole. That's the whole thing though. And that's the crazy thing about this podcast is that like we both had the Bengals. Like we both thought like the Bengals being as good isn't a surprise to me, and it's not that big of a surprise to you either because we talked about this during the offseason. Like I said during the offseason, I think the Bengals will get the first playoff win this year because I think Joe Burrow in the playoffs is going to be elite. We got it all on tape too. We got it all on tape. We've been saying it all year. We've been saying, I'm a Browns fan. What the hell do I got to uplift the Bengals? Like I've been saying all year, like no, like Joe Burrow's gonna come back year 2 and he's gonna be fired for the Bengals. They had Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is gonna be a weapon. We've been saying that, and to go back to our preseason predictions, where we said in our preseason predictions that we think that the Bengals are gonna make the playoffs, and you heard me say that I think they can win a playoff game. That's what we said. We talked about this in the preseason. We also thought the Browns would be better than they were.
And here's the thing. Right now, I think, the Browns.
Take that, national media.
We can lament the Browns plenty. But the thing is with the Bengals, with nobody was thinking that there was any possibility, even a remote hint of a possibility. Not even me and you, Thomas. Nobody was thinking that people were going to start saying, hey, the Bengals can win the Super Bowl at the end of this year. Nobody thought that anybody was going to get to that point.
Yeah,
we're here. We're here.
I was saying the Browns win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It hurts.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. But the Bengals, the fact that anybody is even if it's like kind of a laughable idea, even if like people are saying it to be cute, or even if it's like kind of like a dark horse thing that some of the media members say, the fact that anybody is saying, I think the Bengals have a shot, whether it's like a good shot or not, a shot of winning the Super Bowl this year. The fact that people are saying that right now is just that's beyond, I think, the imagination that anybody had, except maybe Joe Burrow going into this year. CJ Uzama kind of said it too. He said at the beginning of the year, he said, why not us? He said, the standard is a Super Bowl. He said all that shit, at the beginning of the year. So, once again, shout out to CJ Uzama. But that's a guy who plays on the Bengals. Of course they're expecting a Super Bowl. Every team expects a Super Bowl.
Well, the reason why is that people, people, they follow these fantasies and these what you would call they believe in curses and all that other stuff. Like I don't believe in none of that BS. Or like they think that since it never happened, since it's never happened yet, it can never happen. Like it's kind of like how you made fun of me for picking Bill Belichick to win because he's Bill Belichick. It's the same thing, man. It's how people are, man. People don't want to accept change. People don't want to look at something new when it's right there in front of their face.
Well, I will say, Thomas, I don't necessarily believe in curses. That's just not my way. But I will say, the Bengals hurt Bo Jackson and then didn't win a playoff game for 31 years. And then when they did win one, it was against the Raiders in the same building. Well, no, it wasn't the same building because that was Riverfront Stadium, but in the same city, wearing the same uniforms. You tell me curses aren't real after that.
Curses aren't real, but
curses probably aren't real. But but what I am saying is like at the very least, from a narrative perspective, it's really it's easy to say that there's a curse. But at the same time, like back in 2013, 14, 15, I believe it was Woody Hayes, maybe. I think it was Woody Hayes was taking credit for the Bengals curse. And everybody was talking about, oh, it's the Woody Hayes curse, and et cetera, et cetera. This whole curse of Bo Jackson thing hasn't even really like people. Some people have called it the curse of Bo Jackson, but it was never really a thing that people really really were talking about. This is the thing until this year. Until it started to be clear that we might play the Raiders, then people started really talking about it's the curse of Bo Jackson. Well, it wasn't. Nobody really thought it was the curse of Bo Jackson for real up until like a couple of weeks ago, honestly.
Well, people like stories, People like stories.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that is a damn good story. Hey guys, I need to take a second to tell you about NordVPN real quick. I'm sure you've all heard about it because they're everywhere, and it's for a good reason. This is the absolute best, sleekest, and easiest to use VPN out there. Trust me, I've used a few different VPN services for various reasons, and this is the one that I settled on because honestly, it's like I said, it's the sleekest and easiest to use. It takes 10 seconds to just go get it set up, get connected, and get yourself on a new server somewhere around the world. And then you have access to all of these regionally blocked things. And in addition to that, I personally get a little weirded out by everyone with the basic knowledge of systems and hacking having access to my information. So it's really nice to have, a kind of a buffer between that too. There's also a wide world of regionally blocked content out there that's, the only reason you're not able to access it is because you live in a certain country where this stuff isn't available. So, one service I really like is called NFL Game Pass International. It's meant for the international community. It's not available in the United States, but if you're a United States citizen and you use NordVPN to go connect to, I usually use the Ireland or the Brazil server, and suddenly I'm connected and I'm able to watch all these games. You can use basically any country where the service is actually available. Then I pull up the broadcast, sit back, watch the game. Any game. They have all of the NFL games throughout the entire season on this service. And then you also get access to all the normal NFL Game Pass stuff too. So, replays, all 22, the kind of stuff that's, some people just enjoy having NFL Game Pass for in the first place. I do exactly that every Monday and Thursday night when we do our live streams, where me and Thomas make our predictions or talk about the predictions that we made. And we do it during the Monday night and Thursday night games where we're watching the game and reacting. And the way that I have access to that is I have an NFL Game Pass International. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do, guys. I'm going to leave a link down below in the description. And if you go click that link, it'll take you to NordVPN's website, and it'll automatically get you 69% off your first 3 months for free. That's only $3.67 a month, guys. For all the wide world of access and protection that VPNs give you, I think you can spare $3.67 a month. To me, that's a really good deal. And not only, if you go do that, it helps support our channel, and like I said, it helps you guys get access to the best VPN network out there. Seriously, I really recommend it. So go down on the link in that description and get 69% off your first 3 months of NordVPN for free. But anyway, Thomas, we are past the hour mark right now, so we need to go ahead and move on to the state of the AFC North. So Let's talk about it. I said at the top of the show, I said at the top of the last show that the Pittsburgh Steelers were going to get slaughtered by the Kansas City Chiefs in the first round of the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And that is exactly what happened.
Everybody thought that but me.
Well,
I mean, I thought it would lose.
There were
I
a
didn't think
lot
they get
of people.
slaughtered.
There were a lot of people who actually thought that the Steelers could maybe make like a miracle, like upset over the Chiefs or something like that.
Really? Because I heard people saying
the final score of this game. The final score of this game was, what was it? Was 41-29, I believe.
Too much, 42
to 21. 42 to 21. It was worse than that, Thomas.
Oh yeah, way
it was
worse
not a 42 to 21 type game. The Chiefs were up 35-7 at one point. And the Steelers, I think the Steelers basically just realized they were done. It was over. So at that point, Mike Tomlin decided he was going to start calling plays to at the very least try to inflate Big Ben's stats. And what I think everybody on the planet knows is his last football game in the NFL, like at all. And it really needs to be. But, Ben Roethlisberger just started throwing, and he put up some garbage time points at the end of the game. And but I mean, the Steelers were the first team to score in this game. The Steelers, there was an absolutely horrid offense on both sides through the entire first quarter. But the second quarter comes, and the Chiefs get the Steelers off the field, and then the Chiefs get on the field, and TJ Watt recovers a fumble gets a scoop and score a touchdown. Recovers a fumble for a touchdown. So other than that, the TJ Watt score was insane. But up until, let's see, what was it? 4:10 left in the third quarter. The Pittsburgh Steelers offense could not get a single point on the board. And like I said, it wasn't until like Mike Tomlin Ben Roethlisberger, let it loose. And in addition to that, the Chiefs started playing, I think, like not prevent defense, but they started playing like, just like manage the clock and we're up so much at this point that all we really need to do is just whittle the game away kind of mode. And so I think they were playing soft defense, basically, is what I'm saying, against Ben Roethlisberger. And the Chiefs have no issue with the Steelers. So I'm pretty sure the Chiefs were like, you know what, get your yards and, have your retirement party.
Yeah, have your retirement party. Have a retirement party. You ugly, fat gump of goo from Miami University.
What the hell? But
anyway, full circle.
The final score of this game was a 13-point loss for the Steelers. But in reality, Thomas, this game might as well be a 42-point loss for the Steelers. Because, like I said, the Steelers didn't score any points on offense. And maybe you could say it was like a 35-point loss because, you got to give TJ Watt his scoop and score touchdown. That was a thing. That was for real. That's, not taking anything away from that particular play. But beyond the Steelers offense didn't really score any points in it. It didn't score any meaningful points in this game anyway. This was basically a 35-point blowout by the Chiefs. And the Steelers just got absolutely plastered. It wasn't close. It wasn't even really fun. It wasn't cute. It wasn't anything. It made me even more sure in my belief that the 14-team playoff system for the National Football League is stupid.
Yeah.
Why the hell? And it's the entire state of Pennsylvania, by the way, Thomas. Why the hell were the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Philadelphia Eagles allowed in the playoffs this year? Because the NFL wanted extra games. That's the only reason. And they were awful games. It wasn't even like compelling in any way. Both the Steelers and the Eagles got some garbage time points at the end to make it look not as bad as it otherwise would have been. But these were both massive blowouts that weren't competitive or interesting or compelling at all. So basically what I'm saying is fuck you, Pennsylvania, and fuck you, NFL, for allowing this crap to happen. And fuck you, Los Angeles Chargers, for letting the Steelers into the playoffs in the first place.
F you, Browns, for making me feel jealous while I watch Cincinnati and Buffalo have a lot of fun at a playoff game while I'm sitting here at home like...
Hey, you know what, Thomas? I felt the exact same way last year when y'all beat the Steelers, pummeled the Steelers in the playoffs. I was sitting here like, oh man, wouldn't it just be great if the Bengals could have been the one to pummel the Steelers?
Well, see, COVID, so I couldn't actually go to the game.
Well, I mean that's true. That's true.
That sucks.
Wasn't that game in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, and they didn't have anybody.
Yeah.
They didn't even have fans in the stadium. I still would have went there because Pittsburgh's only 2 hours away.
That's true, I suppose.
That's not far at all.
I actually I'm getting a little sick and tired of the NFL scheduling these games, these playoff games. I had to take the day off to go to the Bengals Raiders game, which by the way,
I
totally
feel so sorry for you. I feel so.
Dude,
he had to take a day off to go to an NFL playoff game, ladies and gentlemen.
I lost $300 fucking on these tickets. Like essentially, like I mean, you know, the ticket itself was like $67, but I also lost my whole paycheck for the day. And by the way, I lost my wedding ring at the game, so that's all the money that thing cost. And I mean, I'm hoping homeowners insurance is going to pay for it.
Man, you lost your wedding ring at the game. Oh man, yeah. Cal.
Yeah,
your wife ain't gonna let you go. Your wife gonna make you miss half the football games next year. She's like, look,
No, my wife was cool about it. She understands.
She's good people. She's real good people.
She's good. I appreciate her. But my point is, I blew a ton of money on going to this game, which worth every penny. Not gonna lie, maybe not worth my wedding ring. But then again,
good damage control there.
Maybe it was
good damage control there. Good damage control there.
Maybe I'm not gonna lie. She doesn't watch this. I'm not gonna lie. Maybe it, I don't know if it was worth the wedding ring, but maybe it may. I'm kind of on the fence on that one because this was a once in a lifetime experience. I'm still getting married. I'm probably gonna get another wedding ring at some point. So it's not like I missed that entirely. But this Bengals thing, when I say once in a lifetime, I mean this is the first time it's happened.
No, man, I'm not taking that away from you. I'm just jealous. Yo, I mean, I can't be bad. I wrote 2 songs while over the weekend, so I probably wouldn't have done that if the Browns played in the playoffs. I've been distracted by the Browns.
Well, there you go. Getting work done.
Yeah.
All right. So my last little bit that I want to talk about with the Steelers is I thought that this year was going to be a rebuilding year, and they managed to make it not a rebuilding year. Although it wasn't, they didn't deserve to be in the playoffs by any means, but they somehow managed to sneak into the playoffs and avoid rebuilding this year. But in avoiding rebuilding this year, they've only really delayed the inevitable because Ben Roethlisberger's retiring, Thomas. Colbert is the name of the late night host, but Kevin Colbert, their general manager, is also retiring. So it is going to be the only one who's sticking around is the Rooneys and Mike Tomlin. So it's going to be a new era in Pittsburgh, and it's going to be, I think, it's going to be a complete reset. They're going to go into rebuilding period. People talking about Aaron Rodgers, people talking about et cetera, et cetera. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Steelers are very obviously going to need to go into rebuilding mode, especially when they get a new GM who's probably going to want to do things his whole way. There's no way on hell that Aaron Rodgers is going to sign up for that. So the Steelers about to go into rebuilding mode, I think, for real this time. And maybe my 14-3 prediction, or 4-13, that's what it was. My 4-13 prediction might actually happen next year. I might have been a year too early on that because the Steelers just refused to accept reality. But I think they're genuinely about to go into a rebuilding season. I think there's not a whole lot in Pittsburgh that they have to build around right now. They got TJ Watt, right? They got Najee Harris. They got Chase Claypool. And other than that, they ain't got a whole lot there in Pittsburgh. Juju Smith-Schuster, I'm not sure. I don't think I would count him as a guy that they absolutely have to keep around and build around. So I think Najee Harris, Chase Claypool, TJ Watt are probably going to stick around for the rebuild unless they decided they don't want to, in which case, good.
Najee Harris is definitely sticking around.
Well, Najee Harris, I'm saying, this rebuilding things for the birds. You're going to waste my prime on rebuilding.
Yeah, I'm gonna play with my brother.
I think JJ Watt's going to retire at the end of this year.
Oh, for real?
My personal feeling. I'm not saying that's necessarily going to happen, but I could see TJ Watt being gone at some point. But I don't think it's going to be the Steelers' decision. I think that'd be TJ Watt's decision. So basically, the Steelers are going to try to build around Najee Harris, Chase Claypool, and TJ Watt. I'm not gonna lie, Thomas. That's not a lot to build around. It's going to take them a long time. like with a new general manager, and with like going on a quarterback search that could take a long time, because I don't see them getting like I said, an Aaron Rodgers or a Russell Wilson or somebody who probably doesn't want to be around for the rebuild. But even then, I don't know if Baker Mayfield wants to sign up for a rebuild either.
Yeah, I think Baker Mayfield will go. I think if Baker Mayfield had a choice, he'd probably go to Denver or New Orleans.
So. Denver or New Orleans.
Yeah, Denver or New Orleans.
But then again, I think New Orleans might be happy with Jameis Winston. Honestly.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I said Denver first, because I think
But other than those three players, everybody in Pittsburgh has got to be under consideration for replacing.
I don't know, I'll take a car. But the thing is that I don't. So they're probably looking at all the same quarterbacks the Browns are looking at, and if you're a quarterback in the NFL this year,
I think you have to prefer to go play for the Browns, because like the Browns, their biggest issue this year was quarterback play. Now, I don't think that's because Baker Mayfield's a bad quarterback. I think if you're a team if you're like Aaron Rodgers, if you're like Russell Wilson, and I don't think they go to Cleveland either. But if you're one of those kind of players, if you're one of those kind of quarterbacks, and you got a choice of where you're going, and your only two options on the planet are Cleveland and Pittsburgh, I don't necessarily think they'd want either. But if those are your two options, I think you gotta prefer Cleveland over Pittsburgh, because Cleveland's got a lot of pieces right now. Pittsburgh, like I just said, they don't have a lot of pieces. They're gonna need to rebuild, and they got a new general manager coming in. So I don't know if how much wants to just commit to a rebuild with a whole new GM. I'm not saying he's going to leave this year, but I feel like I could see him getting frustrated and leaving eventually.
Yeah, well, hopefully soon. Hopefully they have a horrible season next year. Kyrie Irving, hate that guy. Sorry, the Cavs are playing the Nets. Kyrie Irving is just you know how Cleveland is about Kyrie Irving. You don't like that guy? Yeah. He's our let me think. Who left the Bengals and pissed off the whole fan base?
Carson Palmer.
Yeah, he's our Carson Palmer.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Carson Palmer's a good fit, because Carson Palmer would get hurt. That's all. That's
not true. He won a playoff game.
Yeah, and then he got hurt.
Yeah, well, he won a playoff game, and then the very next game he completely imploded, throwing like 4 interceptions or something like that. Well,
I mean, Kyrie Irving made it to the Eastern Conference Final. I'm sorry. Let me correct that. Kyrie Irving's team made it to the Eastern Conference Final. In fact, the year that Kyrie Irving got traded, ladies and gentlemen, he got traded to the Celtics. He didn't play in the playoffs. And the teams in the Eastern Conference Finals were the Cavs and the Celtics, the two teams that he played for in 2018. So how did that feel, Kyrie Irving?
Let's go ahead and move on to the Ravens, Thomas. I got a lot less to talk about with this team, because honestly, as interesting as the Browns right now.
Maybe a little less.
At least as far as talking points and things to talk about, there's not really anything going on with this team right now. The one thing I'll say is this offseason, they have got to fix their offensive line. They're not as bad off as the Steelers, but they got some massive holes. They got Kevin Zeitler. That's great. But Ben Cleveland, Tyre Phillips, or however you pronounce his name, and Alejandro Villanueva were massive liabilities this year. And you're going to have to do something to try to shore up that. Not just the starters, but the depth too. The Ravens have some massive issues. And obviously trading Orlando Brown Jr. ended up I think, biting them in the ass.
When are we going to have the Lamar Jackson conversation?
Who, us? We have it every episode.
I know we do, but I'm talking about nationally. He didn't play that good this year.
No, he really didn't. But he's a Pro Bowler.
I'm really confused. Why are we just ignoring? Why is everybody just ignoring how poorly he played this year?
Because he won an MVP and he's flashy, and when he does play well, he's got all these highlight level plays and everything like that.
Well, so is Westbrook. I know that's another sport, but so is Westbrook. And the Lakers was like, "Oh yeah, Westbrook, he won an MVP and all this other stuff. Let's go pair him with LeBron and see what happens." And then he go play for the Lakers, and now he's hitting the side of the backboard 5 times a game. That's your future, Lamar Jackson. You are going to be hitting the side of the backboard 5 times a game in about a year. Okay, maybe I hit the side of the backboard, but you're going to be hitting the side of a goalpost trying to throw it to Mark Andrews and Marquise Harley-Wood Brown.
That's the other thing. The Ravens are kind of in the same spot as the Browns as far as weapons go. They need a like top level wide receiver. Like, I know they drafted a guy, but he hasn't turned into like a top level receiver,
Yeah.
And Marquise Brown, I think, is, he can be flat. He's like Lamar. He's flashy sometimes, but he's also highly limited.
Yeah. I think it seems to me that Lamar Jackson is getting more and more limited every year play. Like, he's literally getting worse every year that he plays. We're watching him get worse and worse every year. It's right in front of y'all.
Well, it's because the league. It's not because Lamar Jackson is playing any differently than he's ever played before. What's happening is the league's figuring him out, and he's not adjusting his game.
Well, like I said, I would much rather have a fat quarterback who isn't mobile, but who is very accurate and have a strong arm than a quarterback that could run like Usain Bolt.
Who are you talking to? Who are you talking about? I can't.
I rather.
That kind of describes sort of Ben Roethlisberger in his prime, but that's about.
Well, let's be real. Who'd you rather have, Ben Roethlisberger in his prime or Lamar Jackson in his prime?
Oh, Ben Roethlisberger, but without a doubt. I'm puking in my mouth as I say that, but without a doubt.
I know, but that's what I'm getting at. I was mainly getting at what's his name? Tom Brady, because Tom Brady was never. Let's be real. Tom Brady was never really athletic. Yeah, he had 1,000 career rushing yards, but
that's because
he
played.
I know. I'm about to say because he played. He played since my parents were in college. But no, he hasn't played that long. But might as well have. But the whole thing is that why do people get so enamored with their quarterback being so athletic? Oh, my quarterback is so athletic. Like, I don't get it. What did that have to do with reading defense? Maybe I'm old fashioned.
I don't know.
Anything else you got to say about the Ravens?
No. I think that's pretty much all I got for this episode.
All right, that's all I got.
All right,
Pittsburgh
cool.
Sucks. Cowboys suck. That was funny. That was funny.
We all three picked the Niners too.
Yeah, all three.
I think anybody with a brain knew that that was maybe not
Cowboys
a guarantee,
fans,
but definitely potentially coming, because that's what the Cowboys do. They choke.
Dude,
and that's what the Niners do.
It was just funny.
Come out of nowhere.
I just thought it was just funny though. I just thought it was funny. Ooh, that was a nice dunk. I just thought it was just funny. It's just the Cowboys, because Cowboys fans are so arrogant. And I just remember when I went to Dallas last year and we smoked them, and people were like, "Oh, y'all Browns fans?" I was like, "Oh, okay, whatever." And then we won, but a lot. And then Odell Beckham kicked the ball in their end zone, and I rode their roller coasters, telling them go Browns. Anyway, that's all I got.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Battle of Ohio podcast then, guys. Thank you so much for watching. You can always find more of what I do at Kyle Phelps92 on Twitter, Facebook.com/ThePhelps, my Bengals coverage at ATBNetwork.com/Cincinnati Bengals, my YouTube channel, which is just Kyle Phelps. You can find more of what Thomas does at T_star94 on Twitter and on Instagram. And on YouTube and TikTok, you can find him as the Thomas J Network. You want to go check that out because he's got a lot of content coming out. Got Black Baker Mayfield 4 coming. He's releasing an album before too long.
22.
Yeah. So, check all that out, guys. And so for now, I'll leave y'all with a Who Dey.
Go Browns. You know who that.